Happy Festivus. I mean, what a day. Here we are, Pete.
Ooh, happy Fest! I only found out what Festivus was when you mentioned you wanted this on Festivus.
That's pretty shocking. Do you not have Seinfeld in uh, wherever you are, the UK?
I'm not a
I'll just
Seinfeld.
call it the
I
Isle of
think
Kit.
we had it. It's not only do we not have it, it's I don't think it's my generation to be honest.
It's not your generation. Not really mine. I mean, I was like, it was out when I was in like middle school or something. But I watched it as an adult. Caught on to it later. So even though I am old. But hey, welcome everyone. Can everyone hear us? If you're watching, drop a chat. We can see all the chats that come through both YouTube and Twitter, I believe, X. And anything cool, we'll post it. Let me see. Like this guy posted a horse emoji. I can post that right on the stream. People can see it, I believe. Assuming we're streaming it live. Are we streaming it live?
Someone please confirm.
Yeah, I see us on the YouTube stream right now. Yeah. So, yeah, it's Monday, December 23rd. A long year has occurred. We're nearing the end of, geez, season 23 in photo finish. Pete, how many horses at this point are you managing? Have you dialed it into just your champions?
We're just under 500 in the stable.
Oh,
Probably
500.
actively race. We're trying out. I try and cull down who we're actively racing, but I never manage it.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay,
I'm
volume
just getting
working
an.
good is
I
what
don't know if
I'm
you're getting it.
showing.
I'm just getting an echo.
Oh, I don't hear any echo on my side. Let's see. There's a button. Oh, it says it can't be changed while recording.
Just
You have headphones on, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's coming for some reason. Your voice is coming through about 10 seconds later through my speakers. Really weird.
Oh, that's not good. You, want,
I'll try and ignore it. If
you can
it's not
drop
affecting
off and
anyone else,
rejoin if you want.
no, it's fine. If it's not affecting anyone else, then we'll go.
Okay. Cool. Well,
Um,
yeah, the point of today, of course, an AMA, we try to do these regularly. I thought it would be really, obviously, we've known each other a long time now, and the notion of Festivus is always a funny one to me. If anyone that does watch Seinfeld is not weird like yourself, the joke of Festivus always being that George Costanza's dad has this weird holiday where he tells everyone all his problems with them, and calls it the airing of grievances. So instead of having a Christmas celebration, he just gets everyone around a table and tells them all the ways that they wronged him in that year, which I thought was a pretty fitting theme for photo finish. Obviously, we love the community, but this is just how games go. Typically, it's just ups and downs of people upset, people frustrated with certain things. Even though I know most people are still having fun with the core game, there's always just things that people want to do better. So, Peep here, you could kind of talk a little bit about what you were doing to try and gather feedback or questions, and then obviously I'm here to just answer anything, so I can kind of let you take it away if you want.
yeah, no worries, mate. New format this time. For anyone who's joined previous AMAs, and shout out to Doughboy and Sowers and anyone else who's run one. I've gone and organised a Slido, so anyone who's used Slido before is using the corporate world for Q&As, etc. We'll do a few funky bits with word clouds and what have you. For those who don't know me, I'm Peeb, owner manager of YSM, back-to-back virtual Kentucky Derby winning stable. Plug, plug, plug. Been playing PFL since January 2022, I want to say, so well before live. Been around a long time now. Hopefully, know my onions. Joined by Ian. Thanks, Ian, for joining.
Do you have like just to interject on you? I do hear that echo now when it was just you talking. Do you have like the YouTube or the Discord up as an app and it's like replaying on delay? That's maybe the only
I
thing
don't
I could
think I
think of.
do. That's what I was looking for. Is it on
Check your Twitter page up. Is there some browser that?
closed?
Because yeah, it is coming way late. That would make me think it's the actual broadcast from somewhere.
That's what I thought. I tell you what, I'll leave and rejoin. Is that better?
Yeah, and just make sure all your browsers are closed. Like everything's closed but this.
Everything's closed except for the Slido. I'll leave and rejoin. Hang on one second.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome. It's just me. This was my way of getting out of the AMA. It's just food. Boot peep, say there was an audio issue. I'm here in Orlando. It's a nice day. Got my Christmas sweater on. This is my new office. If you guys haven't seen it yet, this setup here, I'm sharing an office with Microsoft is pretty fun. Pretty cool trip. You can see my red swing line stapler back there. It's a pride and joy. I'll put some chats up. Yeah, if you have any experience with Riverside, looks like okay. Leave and rejoin from Kentucky Horse Player. Yeah, it can be weird, I suppose. I tried to use the app, like the Riverside streaming app, and it like doesn't work for live stream. Only works for recording a podcast or saving. So anyway, had to use a browser. But good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, I'll just wait for Pete. I wanted to show sort of like the Roku streaming app and stuff today, but I know he's got a million questions. I can do another one, another stream with that later. Um, but anyway, hope everyone's having a solid holiday Christmas season. Are you off? Drop a note in if you're off today. If you're working today, drop a note. Let me know in the chat. If you're just here on your lunch break, if you're at home watching me on your big screen, tell me where you're consuming this wonderful photo finish content with my missing co-host. Why isn't he rejoining? I don't have a little thing. It's like, someone's coming back. I don't have my guitar either. I would just serenade you all. Um, Maybe I should check. Where are you, Pete? Pete said, I'm a tit, lol. I don't know what that means. It's not the way we say it around here. Let's see, going back to chat. Is anyone buying any coins right now? Give us the token. Somebody drop off work, wrapping presents, playing PFL. That's a good. Yeah, somebody drop the CA. What's the CA right now? It is ugly sweater day. I love this thing. I've had it forever. It's almost a horse. I need a horse racing one. Somebody give me a horse racing themed ugly sweater for Festivus next year, and I would definitely rock it. No, see, in terms of photo finish, of course, we'll chat a bunch about that. The crypto space in general, obviously, has been pretty wild. Just to throw some thoughts on it, Solana, Bitcoin, everything kind of creating crown, everyone having sort of a bad run. Saw some pretty interesting thoughts about this being tax harvesting time, and that's what always happens, kind of leading into the last few weeks of the year. I'm not sure if I believe that or not. Definitely a lot of uncertainty about government shutdown, deportations. I think there's a lot of like anti-risk things going on market-wise. So who knows what's going on there? But for the most part, we stay heads down. Um, it's been super busy at their time for forever. Uh, Really, obviously, since a couple months before Breakpoint, it just felt like it's been absolutely uh, crunch mode. And I think Peep's back. I hope. Peep, can I hear you? Let's see.
Um,
I can hear you.
yeah, I did some troubleshooting, and I got my Taskmaster up and tried to find wherever the noise was coming from. It was my phone.
That
It was
is,
nothing to do with my computer. Schoolboy
mhm.
error.
Yeah, that's unacceptable, really.
You're telling me.
All right, so yeah, take it away, Peep. Now that I can hear you,
Yeah,
you're the
no
boss.
worries. I've just restarted, so let me get my needlessly restarted, I should say. So let me get my slider up as well. So yeah, update to the format. So the details to the Slido are on Discord. If anyone wants to continue to ask questions or upvote questions, we'll get them on screen. So that is still available right now to do.
Hmm.
Um, link in the Discord. I can drop it in the chat if anyone needs it. Just let me know, or if someone else can drop it in, please feel free. So if you'll indulge me 1 second, let me get my slide up. So whilst we're getting the slide up, I'll set the scene and start with a couple of questions of my own, just because hosting the fucker. So why not get the
Yeah.
might as well ask you some stuff while I'm up here. Um, so and then Ian, if you wouldn't mind, maybe after that a 2 minute bird's eye view or kind of state of the nation. I'm sure you can reel something off like that. Um,
Of course.
must be second nature. So hopefully that sounds good.
Right, right.
So yeah, Ian, appreciate your time as always. And just to set the scene, Ian, obviously we've met in real life before twice now, actually. Once in Fair London, once in Louisville. Um, so look, I mean, you and the team have obviously changed a load of people's life, including my own. You probably don't get enough credit for all
Oh,
of that. So again, on Festivus 2 days before Christmas on 2024, I just want to say thanks for that.
oh,
It really has been
that's a
life
rare
changing.
Festivus.
Miracle.
Not an area. It's a Festivus miracle. Peeve is positive.
This is what we Brits call the shit sandwich, Ian. Okay.
Right.
So, so here is your nice, lovely piece of bread, and I'm about to. No, I'm not going to give you a turd, but
Oh, good, dude. Go
um,
ahead. Yeah.
it is amazing, though. To be fair, it's amazing that you've created a game that everyone loves playing, and somehow it's also uh, improved our bank balances and so on and so forth. So it is. I find myself explaining this to people, and I still don't know how to do it. So um,
That
no,
sounds
it
good.
has been amazing. If we go into where we are, and I think we're probably at a bit of a crossroads, maybe in the PFL journey. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Um, Most key metrics are on the decline, I'd say: breed fees, race volumes, crown yield, purse fees, horse marketplace values, horse population up exponentially, crown stimulus down season on season. Harder than ever for horses to turn a profit. Whilst that sounds like doom and gloom, like I guess my
Mm.
question around that is how are you feeling about where we are right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously trending the wrong direction, which can cause concern. Um, but at the same time, uh, expected because of just our sort of um, speed at which we're bringing new people in. And I can say that, like, we've struggled here. I think everyone knows that. But at the same time, I can give a little context of why. I mean, like, we really pushed hard to get a lot of these things in place before we could start spending on marketing, on user acquisition. So marketing is different, I think. Marketing is a term, just to make this easier for people to hear. Marketing is different from user acquisition. Um, Marketing is like running, sort of Twitter Spaces or working with KOLs or whatever. Marketing is spreading the word. User acquisition is paying like straight up money for installs of players. And most people know that's always been the goal. Like, I mean, that's in the first roadmap. Like we think that we have this huge advantage because we can have a, game, a mobile game that has real money sort of as a Trojan horse inside it. And, we can attract players into a normal fun game, but then convert them into real money. Like no other real money product can really do that. A betting app, you name it, a horse racing betting app, a Twin Spires, a TVG, a FanDuel, they are only offering a real money betting product. And we thought, well, we'll have a game which can attract millions of people like it did before, the previous games, and bring them in. So that was always the plan, but it's just taken a long time. We're a lean team. We don't have huge budgets, and so it really by not having that new user funnel wide and new people coming in, every game sags. Every game decays. Every game in history. We're no different from anyone else. And in fact, we are echelons above everyone else because our retention is still so high. Like if you put a game out tomorrow And normal game, like the majority of the time, about 3 people will leave every week out of every 10. And that's not the case with photo finish. It's still like dripping, one or two or three a month or something out of 10. It's like really, really high. But it is decaying. And every game ever, we're not in any situation that's not different from others, has to be refilling the cup. And you can refill the cup from new people, or you can refill the cup from re-engaging old people that lapsed. You can kind of do any number of ways. And so all that to be, we've just kind of been behind the 8 ball on it. We had to build mobile. We had to, get all these other things sort of done in place. Like we've been working on deposit matching for quite a while. All these things to try and re-engage players and to try and attract new players. And it just takes a long time. And so what happens? Yeah, the game sags while we're not adding new users. And so it stinks because it kind of like vibes get down. Everybody's sort of bummed. The exponential horse growth always expected. Nothing unknown by me. I think that market levels itself on a lot of that stuff. Now, I know a lot of people have clamored like we should change major things about the game, make them die earlier, make them do other, all kinds of other things. And obviously, always open to discuss those. But like this was always modeled in. They're going to start dying soon. They continue to be, a big growth curve that will start to flatten a little bit, based on demand. I mean, like people's problems with horse population are only because there's not enough demand. It's not really the population that's the problem. That's the thing a lot of people have to step back on. Is like there's not really an issue. The issue is supply and demand. There's not enough people that want them. That's the problem. It's not
Yes
prices.
and
It's
no on
not,
that. So
you know.
if I could just give you a slight counter, yes and no. Like I think supply and demand would cover a lot of issues. Like yes, if people's horses are selling, then yes, no one's gonna have a problem per se
Yeah.
with horse population. I think in terms of core, my personal view, in terms of core game loop mechanic, I personally think it would be healthier for the horses as stands to have less time in the sun. Like if you look at Gen Zero is a really good example. They're about to die off in 2 months' time. They've had what 22, 23 in some cases swings at a good foal. I think if you've got what looks like a good horse on paper, or like in terms of pure stat reveal, with that many swings at the breeding mechanic, I think you're going to get a reasonable outcome. Like for me, it is not necessarily about supply and demand. And yes, people wouldn't be talking about this if there was demand. I get that.
Hmm.
But in terms of power creep, in terms of new stables keeping up with big boys, for example, I think it like specifically talk about mare on the mare side. I think it would be better if mares died earlier because those owners of those top mares, I think would have less opportunity to breed a monster out of that mare. So I think personally, it's not necessarily supply and demand that's the main issue around this. I think it's game loop improvement and power creep management.
Yeah, I mean, I dropped that out there. Like, I wouldn't disagree wholeheartedly with that. It's one of those things though that like we did pick a number out of thin air. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we've done advanced modeling. When I say thin air,
Yeah.
we picked a number that was what was average in real life. And a lot of these things we just kind of randomly chose way down. Like, why is real life a stud getting 400 covers, and we have 35, and people think it's too many? It's like, well, okay, I guess it's because the domination right now of the top studs, and people feel like it's not fair, or that the genomes are getting too tight, or whatever. But it's like, well, so why isn't that happening in real life? That's what I always try to think of. Like, we can fix it and we can change it, but like, let's just try to like step back a little and go, well, why isn't that a thing right now? Like, what's the big deal? And people do bitch that there are 400 covers in real life, so it's not like it's one or the other, but a lot of times it's just like we've had these things where people get kind of like worked up or freaked out or frustrated with some aspect of the game, and sometimes you just kind of step back and like it ends up sort of correcting. The market corrects and things end up settling in. Now, I'm not like saying we have to just ignore this. We could change it, we could try it, we could vote, we could ask people, but it's just like sometimes there's huge bag bias that we've got to try and see through. Like, why are people saying this thing, one or the other? Like, is it a financial incentive? We can't just let the loudest people always win. We have to like make sure that it's just the right thing. And so I don't know. This one is like I put it out there, and you have just as many people arguing that it should not be the case. So it's sort of like, well, shit. I thought, well, we had just picked randomly. No one will have a problem if it's between 18 and 25, as a terms of a death day. But there are a lot of people that have a problem with it. So it's sort of like, well, all right. Well, now we need to ask them what's their bag bias or what's their design bias, whatever it is. So
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think you get anchoring bias, don't you? Like once you know something. I come from the Isle of Man. How many Manx people does it take to change a light bulb? None, because Manx people don't like change. Like I'm used to that. Um, and for me, there's
mhm.
anchoring bias, and once you've got something you know and love, it's hard to move away from that. And there's an emotional pull for some reason around people and digital horses and getting attached to them and the prospect of death and all of that. I get
Well,
that
if
kind
if
of.
you're in the chat, yes or no, Y or N, do you want horses dying sooner or not? Just drop, just
I
we'll
tell
see,
you what,
just for
let's.
fun.
Yeah, I tell you what, even better than that. Let's. If I. Oh, can I share?
Should be able
Yes, I can share. Let's start bringing technology into this. Right, so if I. Is that working?
Let's see. Yeah, there it goes.
Alright, so I've started a couple of polls. Let's start a new poll if I can. So what do we
Oh,
want to
nice.
ask? We want to
Yeah, should
ask.
horses die sooner?
So viewers, if you can, um, yes, no. If you can click onto your Slido, so the link should be there. You should be able to see that in the Discord. You should now be able to see that poll and be able to vote. Should horses die sooner? If people could just let me know whether that is working or not, that would be
So we've
wonderful.
got one here in the chat. Oh, damn it! Don't let me click it on the stream. Why not?
There we go. The votes are coming in live. I did start another poll, which is a word cloud as well, so you should be able to respond to this as well in your own time. In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge or point of development for PFL right now?
Um, so yeah, so that one, I can go ahead. Yeah, what is the biggest
So
challenge?
that's not necessarily the question for you. So that's for
Oh,
viewers to respond to.
oh,
They
okay, good,
will.
got it.
Um, I think if I've got this right, what should happen is that should turn into a nice happy word cloud. We'll watch the we'll come back to that poll anyway. So
Got it.
just in terms of the format of this, everyone has been submitting their questions. Everyone's been voting for the questions they like to see. So what will happen is the highest voted questions will make their way to the top. We'll highlight them like that. We will clear them when they're cleared, and we'll make our way down the list. So if you want something asked, go and get that thumbs up, and that'll move it up the list. And there's still time to do that.
Cool.
Should have a quick look at the poll and see where we're going. 71% yes, 29, 31%
It
no.
says
Close-ish.
HVA. I don't have Slido downloaded. It should just be a link, right?
Yeah, don't need it downloaded. You should just be able to click the link in Discord. You
Yeah.
should be able to access it without login from any browser, from any phone. It should be pretty straightforward. Don't need the app.
All right.
Um,
Let's get at the Q&A because yeah, we do have
let's
40
do it.
minutes.
So yes, okay, cool. So MVP, briefly, and it might be that you want to take this away and maybe commit to an MVP update at some point. But MVP is
The
has
next two
hijacked the
is
PFL.
there.
So yeah, the top two are MVP. So is there any future to MVP, or will it be closed for good?
I mean, no, it's not closed for good, but it is still on pause. And people that think about suites and MVP again, it was like we did spend all of the money, lots and lots of money to try those things, and they showed not product market fit. No one came in the suite, even though we had invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to build the suites. And MVPs were sort of a similar thing. We thought, okay, well, this is going to be a vibe that people will get behind, and they did not. And so it's really about the same thing I said last time: rethinking how that token can work, rethinking how, um, and I have ideas on what to do with it, but it's just like that is a huge risk to take when PFL needs a lot of effort and needs 100% focus. So I don't think it's closed for good, but it's still on pause, and I mean, it's doing just as much as about every other NFT right now. NFTs are everything's in bad shape. Shit coins are the meta. Meme coins are the meta. So it's sort of like I'm not going to go chase that right now with MVPs when PFL has product market fit for sure. So yeah,
Indefinite hiatus. Excellent.
not yet. I mean, I'll close it for good when it's ready to close for good, and I'll tell you. But it's still like I still have some stuff I want to do for sure. But
Um, just to close that loop, the only other additional element was around the integration of MVP suites to Gen into PFL. There was a mention of it. Any update on that?
no update. Same answer.
That's fine. That hopefully concludes the MVP section of this.
I love those guys.
Uh,
It's like I still love. I see the PFPs around on Twitter and stuff, and I still think they look great. They look better than anything else. But it's just like, well, look at DGOTs. Like the NFT's gone. Frank just trades coins like that. That's what is happening. It's a weird look at Pudgy. It's like they just made a new blockchain and they're doing token launches. It's just a very different world now. And so, yeah, I think it's about chasing some new uh, theme or being out in front of a new theme before it gets there and trying to figure it out. But yeah, not right now.
before the next question, so there's what our word cloud is starting to look like. We might do another one of these at some point.
Great. Those are good.
But yeah, yeah, it should hopefully
That's cool.
it should hopefully build out. If I move to poll two, can I move to poll two? Active poll. Let me
This
have
guy,
a
so
look.
professional. So professional,
Should
except he
horses
can't figure out how to click on anything.
should horses die sooner? 67% yes, 33% no
How
so
many you're in?
far.
How many people?
We have got
18.
18. 18, yeah, so that must be what, 12 and 6. Um, how are you prioritizing your focus between new user acquisition, new in-game features, wagering growth, geo expansion, partner development, etc.?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of ground to cover there, Ian. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, well, in terms of how do I prioritize the focus, yeah, it is hard. Like, this is one of the hardest things of running this company is like, we always just used to stay focused on the game. And now it's like, no, we have kind of a publicly traded company on one side with Crown. We're working with Crown Foundation to spin up and build up. And then, you've got this wagering angle and simulcast that we're working on. And then you've got the game, like the core game itself. That's like, that's our bread and butter, of course. But you do have to do all these. And then, yeah, I mixed in with partnership development, getting biz dev meetings, getting outreach every day from some random person that wants to work with you, or, it is a lot to to juggle, and it's very challenging. I try to stay focused with just prioritizing, what I think is most important, which is I think typically it's going to be things like wagering and user growth. Like those are sort of the top tier issues right now. So bringing simulcast to market, I think, maybe some people don't necessarily believe or see it yet, but if you step back, we've built the number one virtual racing product in the world. Like, there's no doubt about it in my eyes. Like, now no one's wagering on it yet, but we've got the number one virtual racing product in the world, like bar none. It's running 24/7. All of the results are super skill based. They're very well balanced. It's like undefeated, and I don't see anyone knocking us off. So now it's like, well, now what do we do with that? Well, A, we can't lose all the people that are playing it. We need more people to play it. And B, we need people wagering on it. So that's sort of the North Star. And then underneath that is like, okay, well, how do we improve those? How do we get more users in? Well, is it a partnership? Is it spending on user acquisition? Is it working with an agency? Those are the things that are always kind of the difficult. But I set those two at the top. I try to not do anything that doesn't mess with those.
And just to build up, because obviously that is a huge array, a massive range of what you have to do as a company and as a business. In the word cloud, there someone has raised, and it's a fair question around team size and bandwidth. Is that a pretty big factor for you? Are you running very lean and therefore trying
Yeah,
to cram all
always.
sorts between? Yeah,
It always is. Has been. We just never have. We're not Aurori, or Star Atlas. We did not raise $100 million token round. We have always been lean, and I would love to have five more people at some level, though. Like, we had a team of large people, and sometimes you slow down. You end up with maybe. I mean, unless everyone is perfect rock star level, like the team we have now, which is just, I love everyone. It's like you end up kind of losing time, like having to recheck their work or double down on this and that. And so I've been trying to really, what I think we've been getting a lot better at is using contract work on demand, to spin up things without having to have a full timer. And so, like, something that's very important, we'll just go and like we spin up 6 people from, an outsourced studio, and then we just manage that development, and then we can kind of pull it back in when we're done. So it's always tough though, man. I mean, we are close to some financial good news, so that's good. So I feel like we'll scale up a little bit more, but yeah, we're not a 30-person team, like it's not the way it is. We're always super lean, and
Yeah, and is that a frustration for you? Do you feel like you'd like to go quicker, but
yeah,
that's
sometimes,
like that's the
yeah,
ceiling?
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, like, we just don't have the funds to do that. Like, we have to keep everything alive as long as possible. Like, I'm trying to keep a year runway, so I'm not trying to, you know, push all in
Yeah.
on 2 months of work or whatever. And so it is a challenge though. But yeah, trust me, man. I mean, you guys don't see it all the time or whatever, but like I'm coding till 11 o'clock at night every night myself. Like, of course, I'd love to not be doing that. I'd love to have some
Yeah.
more people doing it, but this is it's a startup. You know, you do what you must.
Yeah, I mean, look, I remember back in the days of the first beta where change was happening in front of our very eyes, like the game with or the UI, the UX, all of it. Like you'd log on day to day and there'd be change after change. Is that pace of change still there, or is it because we're in a live game now where things are maybe a little more circumspect?
I think it's still there, but what you've seen is that a lot of big things have had to take priority, and they just haven't. And so they've log jammed our normal pace. Deposit match is a perfect example. So deposit match, we basically got ready to launch at breakpoint. So we were like, all right, we're going to go in. People are going to be able to show up at breakpoint. We'll give them a card. They'll put in $50, for example, and we'll give them a free $50. And we were just crunching, like pretty much all hands on deck to get that feature done. Our emails, automation, all of the things around it. It's a huge feature. And right before we're about to ship it, it's like huge financial risk. We realize that if unchecked, would be super exploited. And then we find out it's illegal in Australia. And they're just like, wait a minute, oh, like we don't know if people are there, if they're using VPN and all these things. And I'm like, so it just had to us like it poured a big cold water bucket on it that we had to go retool and refactor a lot of it. And and so what that's done is like that feature just takes time. And someone like Ryan Belke on our team who's been great at like he'll put out lots of those fixes that you guys are asking for. Like anything that's coming up, oh, it's really annoying, I can't sort by this or filter by that. He's been almost fully on deposit match. And so it just sort of has log jammed, and then of course it feels like, oh, the game's not getting updated, or it's not this, and it's like, I've even jumped in and I changed the filter on the little dots graph, and just like things like that to like, hey, let's make sure we're throwing stuff at them. Like Sowers asked for a random name generator. I threw that in on a Saturday afternoon. Just like things like that that I'll try and like jump in and help to make sure that, yeah, because it's like you guys are why we're doing this. I love making stuff. That's my favorite thing to do is to build directly for the community, but it's just often like simulcast and deposit match are just so huge that it
Hmm.
sort of, and that's my hope though, is that's what I'm hoping to hire here another person to get them back in that sort of like daily, you know, tied to the community loop. Like, here's stuff you guys want, we fix it. Stuff you want, we fix it. Like, because right now we've just gotten too suctioned out onto these bigger features that the sort of day to day like quality of life gets sort of dropped down. So.
Yeah, and just to box off that question, I think we've covered most areas, but geo expansion, is there any update on geo expansion? Any update on UK gambling license, other gambling licenses, etc.?
No, so we paused the UK one. We actually got through the main part, but then the app itself needed to be also licensed. We found out, so like the actual having a license for people to wager on something. We went through that whole process, and then they're like, "Well, what's that something they're wagering on?" We're like, "Our game," and they're like, "Well, you need a license for that too." And so we can do it. We just need some money. Like it was just expensive, and it was like, all right, well, we'll do that once we raise the next round.
What does the data show you about new stable experience and progression?
Yeah, this is good. We've been getting better and better at this, just honestly, very recently, to show like, are people at risk of dropping? Do they try it? In the last week, I was just looking at this like yesterday. There were 10 people or so that were like now getting hardcore into the game. Lots of horses, lots of racing. Three of them were in the money, seven of them were in the red, you know. And so then I'm kind of like, all right, well, what happened? What's going on, you know, with these people? And so you have a clear funnel. A lot of people try the first race, of course, and then they lose, and then they don't play. So of you know, if 10 people come in, seven of them that happens to. And so that was, you know, one of the first things Brian and I have been working on is sort of this like guided, like keep trying, we keep throwing new horses at you. There's been a lot of debate internally of whether we just give you a race that you always win. I don't want to do that because it's kind of not the game, like or a race that immediately runs. And again, it's like that's not the game. Of course, it would help, but it's also like that's not the game. The game is appointment based. It's not on demand, whatever you want it to be. So regardless, we have that drip of like, okay, we're losing people from going to trainer to real. And so now, you know, that's where we're focused a lot on like, okay, number one, getting them a shot at re-going, doing it again, as well as deposit match, right? Or deposit bonus, period. Just like, hey, if you win your first trainer race or you buy your first horse, we'll go ahead and give you free $20 to go ahead and start racing, you know. Those are the things that we're getting like dialed in and hopefully better at. We call it live ops, but it's basically real money live ops. So the new stable experience, yeah, it's just obviously we've always known it's very hostile and difficult, and that's what we're, you know, these are all these pieces that we've been working on forever to try and get them better, so that we can run user acquisition and not just lose all the users, right? And flush them down the toilet. That's obviously the worst, but it's getting better and better.
Yeah, okay, okay. Nothing further on that. Another MVP slash suites. Will suites be used for simulcasting? Can we expect simulcast? When, sorry, can we expect simulcasting to occur? Will the gen be factored in?
Suites won't be used for simulcast. I mean, no one uses suites. Like, no one goes into suites. We tried that. um, Can we expect simulcasting to occur? It's hard to say for sure. There's a lot of like, I think we're going to be prototyping it in Q1, Q2 with like local bars and people online. Will DGen be factored into simulcasting currency? I'm not going to say anything there yet. I don't have a super plan on that. So yeah, but yeah, it's obviously a big and complicated feature, and I don't really have like a hard deadline on it yet.
No, that's fine. 52 questions. Let's see how many we can crack through. Does the team care about the amount of horses on market and/or in the stud barn, or is that water finding its level and a non-factor? If you do care, are there any possible changes?
I was actually working on this yesterday as a automated delist after, you know, like a 30-day or a 60-day timeline because I do care that it just gets stale. That's really the main thing. Like,
On
um,
marketplace, 30 days, you're allowed to sit on marketplace for a set time,
yeah,
and then you
that's a
get.
pretty normal, like most websites and, you know, Craigslist even does it, right? Like
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace, your listing just expires and if you want it again, because the market changes so much and, you know, I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 60 days. We could vote on that on Slido, but 30 days, but something that it just doesn't languish. And so then that forces, it will always be a lot cleaner. Right now, I think there's 6,938, and the last I was looking last night, listings that are active. And I was just like, yeah, a lot of those are really, really old. And so, you know, when someone listed a horse in season four for 150 grand and they don't move it, you know, it's like it's time to go ahead and pull that down. So,
And beyond how long a horse is listed, do you obviously filters and usability of the
yeah.
marketplace and the breed barn have been cited quite a lot. Is there any update on that? Do you think that's an issue?
Yeah, obviously, we just need to check with Bryce and Belky. That's one of those perfect ones that they were working on, but deposit match has kind of clogged the lane.
Right.
But we fully hear it. I want to do it as soon as possible. It's just one of those things that, like, yeah, we'll have to reprioritize and make sure. But Bryce will ping me, I'm sure, in Slack. He's probably writing right now. Oh, here's where that ticket is. Here's how far it is. But I haven't checked in on it. But yeah.
I mean, so that's something that third-party apps and off-site apps have managed to nail down. Is there any temptation to tap into that to incorporate that in some way?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, when I hear like you know, a few members showed me certain sites and certain ways that things worked. I mean, I definitely, if it worked great, I want it in the main site. I don't want to try and steal people's thunder if they've got a paid service sometimes, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like it doesn't help the game if very few people have access to some dominant help that others don't. Even though like I don't mind that. It just like you have no right, I suppose, if I steal it from you, or if I hear from the grapevine that like they're finding something super useful, then we're obviously gonna look at it. So um, yeah, I'm of course open to add anything that helps people's user experience. These are a lot of these things we talked about, like even last year, like we just had no concept of planning for the stables with 500 horses. We
Yeah.
undershot that a lot, and so it magnifies drastically when you think about that.
And no temptation then, rather than try and build it yourself, to kind of go to a line behind the third party. I know it's then a question of who and how,
No.
but no, yeah, no temptation at all to do that.
I love the third party sites, of course, but like it's happened what 2 or 3 times now where people take their ball and go home. So like I just can't rely on them, unfortunately, even if that's just the bad versus the good, or bad apples ruin the bunch or whatever you want to call it. But I just like we can't rely on people. We can only rely on ourselves. And yeah,
But
I just also don't.
there's no model where you could contract them, for example, or you could have a de facto like
Oh no, that's not.
official third. No.
No, that's not necessary. I mean, typically like onboarding someone into the code base and all that stuff is way harder than just doing it ourselves. But um, if there's someone that's just like a badass engineer or someone great, maybe we end up hiring. But yeah, I think the majority of the time, like we have worked on some official API opening up things. Like we've started whitelisting people and doing a little bit of work there so that to help some of the tool makers not like almost I would say almost, of all the outages, I'm sure you have seen them, however many there have been in the last couple months, 2 or 3. I think all of them came from third-party site scrapers and hammering our servers and stuff. So we're trying to make that's not really their fault. It sort of is, but it's ours for not having an official API. They're trying to get around all of our checks, and then they end up shutting the site down on accident.
That's how you take the bullets out my chamber on these conversations, turn it technical. Speaking a language I don't understand. Wolaf, the first person who's been brave enough to name himself, a shout out to Wolaf. What's the next step of Roku and betting and when?
Yeah, so the main thing we're working on now is the smart contract Solana-based betting, the parimutuel program. And this has been a lot of work, a ton of work from a lot of people, and I think it's a huge step for us to be able to get it out. But because what does it mean? I mean, it really means that anyone, we're going to build this API and smart contract where anyone can bet on these races on chain in a trustless, transparent way, and super super excited to do that. And it will not include we're not just only doing win play show, and you have to sign up or all that stuff. Exotics, all the pools. Trying to get it like really killer. And so that has to get done first. Uh, do I have a ship date on that? I mean, as I said before, Q1, Q2 probably. It is extremely difficult. Like this week or last week, I think you probably saw I posted that I did make my first on-chain wager, and it was just like, oh, it's so exciting. Got it done, got paid out, super cool. And this is coming from the races from Photo Finish's race list, so it's like uh, getting close, but also at the same time, that final 10% is really tough. It will take a while to get it all finalized, but
Any
yeah.
any timeline on that or
Q1, Q2. I mean, Q1's probably
Q1,
aggressive.
Q2?
I mean, again, I think we'll be testing it in Q1, but like seeing it in your local bar or somewhere that's okay, it's going to be a bit. Unless we hired a bunch of people, it's just like, right now it's 3 people working on it. So,
At the Derby, I'm hearing at the Derby.
oh man, if only, right? That'll be the dream. Trying to hammer pick fives. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, horse player, he gets it.
Let's settle it. Is there a winning gene? In fact, that sounds like a good shout for the next poll.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. How do I set up a poll? Go on, let's see. Is yes, no, ask, commish. All vote now. We'll move on to the next question. When off a button, is that in the pipeline at all?
No, it's not. And um, I've talked myself into and out of this for like years. Um,
Yeah,
it's it's so problematic from a exploit standpoint. That's the biggest thing. Bad apples will ruin a bunch. They'll put a horse up for one and, you know, get around royalty, which is only hurting themselves. Like, you know, obviously the royalties are going into race purses. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so no, it's not on the. Obviously, I kind of hate that you can't make a deal easily. You know, of course, I wish you could do that, like a private listing or something. But it's just like it's so freaking exploitable, and there's just too many people in the ecosystem or in the world that will burn it all down just to get profit. You know.
Is there anything, I know we have kicked this about at length before, I think. Is there anything that can unlock trades or like can use, for example, median or average sale prices to generate fees? Is there anything like that that you could consider?
Yeah, I think the where I'd settled was actually buddy of my AJ. He's the one that said that I think SoRare was the one that does it. That basically, if you list like 20% below median more than X or Y times, like you're just banned. And so that's one way to do it that I thought, okay, well, like, you know, we allow offers, but if people are selling below market, which we do have a market price now, and that was actually the reason I built that feature where it showed average prices of sales. I was like, I'll build in offers on top of this next. And then I never got around to it, but that's how I would probably do it. Is just really like let you do it, but then warn you and then ban you, or you know, timeout type thing. You know, three strikes, kind of a deal.
Nothing imminent on that though, right?
No, so many other things going on. It sucks, but yeah,
There is timeline for features in the works like simulcast, paid user acquisition, token relaunch, listings on CEX, trainer series on App Store, road
that's a
to
lot, right?
100K.
Yeah. Well, I'll go through. So simulcast, we said, you know, Q1, Q2. Paid user acquisition has started, but we're still testing. But we are spending money now on both Apple and on Twitter. So we're starting to see some users come in. Slow, but this is the name of the game. But you know, it's like we did it. We are doing it. We are spending. Listings, new news on that pretty soon. I'll just do soon TM, the trainer series on the App Store stuff. That's what Brian and I are working on. That would be probably Q1 or probably early January because we don't want to spend too much user acquisition without it. And then yeah, road to 100K. I mean, yeah, we're on the road to 10K first, but then road to 100K right after that. So yeah, I mean, it's all starting. It's been in progress. It's exciting. It sucks because people get down on the vibes. But it's like we're executing every day. We're working our ass off every day. It's just sometimes like, what are you gonna do? You know, stay heads
And
down.
is that the actual desire though? Like, would you want in 6 months' time to be sat here with 100K users? Is it 100K stable owners? Is that like 10K stable owners and 90K wagers? Like, what is the vision on that side?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many races you can put in the schedule, so it's like a million DAU, like kind of wouldn't even barely work, for example. So you really need. It's about the number of horses actively racing as much as it is anything else. Full fields of every race, every 2 minutes, is the goal. So who cares about how many users it takes to do that, right? It's like that's what I've tried to tell when I have these meetings. It's like users are users. Of course, you can't do it with 1,000 users. It's probably going to take 50,000 or some amount. But like, how does every race fully fill with maximum value every couple of minutes? That's what the goal is. So right now, you see still 20% of races, 30% of races getting canceled, 40% of races, like no cancellations, full races, full fields. A lot of times races go off with four horses in it. So there's still a lot of upside, even on the current schedule, to fill.
Yeah, okay, okay. We'll move on to the next one. Will Crown have future sinks? Is it only meant for staking?
Yes, it behooves us to take as much crown in as possible, of course. Now, is it the priority right now? No, you guys are hearing what we're working on currently, but I think, a year from now, there's no reason that a lot of super advanced features can't be, um, put in as a crown sync and a cost. A lot of times we talk about it all the time. Like there's so many things that people need and want, whether it's advanced breeding help or advanced analytics or what have you. It's like I know some people will bitch, but that's how you monetize a game. Of course, that's how you keep your company going. is add in premium features that they need and want and charge them for it, and that's what we would likely charge it in Crown. Um, and yeah, I think that level of pulling pressure back or burning it or holding on to it or whatever is just like it's going to be such an interesting flip over the next year or two from this like big giving emission based economy to now a taking. Um, I mean, I'm super excited that as a crown holder, I'm very excited about that, of course.
Are you looking forward to the end of emissions for out of interest? Is
God,
that yeah?
yeah, yeah. I've been looking forward to it since week 4 of the
And do
game.
you envisage that would have? I mean, obviously, I think you were really clever, right? When from at the very start, when it looked as though still remember that the economy white paper being published, and like it looked as though racing and crown were completely separate. Uh, you were very clever at that time in that you, in some out of nowhere, integrated it. So crown was handed out to racers essentially, and all of a sudden racers had an interest in crown. That is obviously still here, albeit decreasing season on season. Are you? Do you think that relationship will end, continue? What's kind of your vision for that?
It all depends on price, crown for it to really matter to people. There's obviously not very much left. We do think that over time, like it just kind of has to, um, the game's got to subside itself without that stimmy, right? I mean, we always knew that, and that's where you're starting to see the reduction in rake on races happening. Those are the profit boosts. You're seeing the addition of wagering on races, which come in as wager boosts. I mean, that's always been the vision. It was like from that very first white paper of like, we've got a cold start. We've got to kick people off. Why are they going to try and race? Well, we'll do tokens. That's what we can do. So yeah, I think does it go away forever? No, I mean obviously we want Crown to continue to be a huge part of the business and a huge part of the community effort, but obviously we just can't keep giving it away. So the game's got to
Yeah.
run on its own accord, and wagering is how you do that for the long term, of course. But
Is that that's the total vision? It's so not necessarily sponsorships, not necessarily other sources of
those can
external
help.
money,
Yeah,
wagering.
those
Yeah.
those can definitely help. I mean, but you only have so many users. I mean, that's where it comes down to, right? Like typically a Coca-Cola or someone or a Woodford is not going to pay if there's 1,000 users. They need
Yeah.
100,000 or a million eyeballs to get a good one. Now we've been doing pretty great. I mean, obviously our biz dev team and our folks have been doing awesome to get all these stimmies in from tokens. I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars they've pulled in from Baxis or whoever, right? Like all these Web3 people, which is amazing. So we obviously keep doing that, and that's just all pure profit to racing, you know, like stuff that wasn't there when we didn't do it. So, but I think what scales is wagering much higher than sponsors.
All right, we'll get a quick update from our polls. Is there a winning gene? No. 50% no, 25% yes, 25% ask commish. About 50-50 then, I'd say. Um, has the other pot? Should horses die? 65-35 still. Word cloud hasn't changed as well. We'll maybe try and squeeze one more in, and we'll
Mhm.
rattle through some more questions. Can a newcomer who pays USD to learn the game on the track realistically beat the OG's crown staking derby operation before they run out of money and quit?
Yeah, it's obviously difficult, but yeah, I was looking at that this morning. As I said, there's 2 or 3 guys that are in the last week that joined that are in profit, right? They are up. So there's a lot of, and that's pure derby, like not any other shenanigans, right? Just up in derby. It's hard, like it's a hard game, and the rake hurts. It makes it difficult, and that's why again we're trying to. I'm not going to say we're weaning people off, but we're just giving more and more options around the high rake, around adding more wager juice. So I think yes, it's absolutely true, but it's very hard. So I would of course want more people to be successful. Is it any different than FanDuel or DraftKings? I'm going to say no. I think it's actually probably easier than winning money on FanDuel or DraftKings or sports betting.
A couple of comments in Twitter chat, which is just worth highlighting. Gruder Racing. Did someone already mention that the game is fucking amazing? Because the game is fucking amazing. We have mentioned that. I've already blown
You say
smoke
it
up
again.
Ben's bum
Say it again,
to
Oliver.
start with. Yeah, the game is amazing. We're all. It does get lost sometimes, but look, like we're all here, and there's hundreds of people watching because the game's amazing.
One of the
Let's
things we
move on.
say, I'll kick that in, is just like something that's funny that Brian says is like, it can feel like a lot of times we get in our bubble and we're all shouting at each other and we're mad or frustrated or whatever. And sometimes it's weird, but that's fun. And that's part of the fun of the game. When someone told me that, I was like, "Are you crazy?" Brian said it, and it's like he's like, "No, just think about sports and everyone's daily obsession with bitching about who you drafted or how your team performed. Like that's the fun. You get together and you complain about your performance of your favorite sports team or your fantasy team or what have you. Sometimes that is kind of the fun. Now, of course, there's things that we're going to do. I'm not just going to say, well, that's it. This is fun. We just make everyone angry, and that's the game. But I think that it is blended by people are doing this because they are enjoying the game and they just want the best out of it. Nothing wrong with that.
You've definitely got one of the most invested gaming communities in the world,
Oh, they're
surely.
wild. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I include myself in that. This next question is for me by the looks of it.
Hmm.
Not the point of the AMA. You can ask this anytime. Um, but what I would say, get the best mares, identify the best colts to breed with, understand race math, understand how stats transfer into how to race your horse, and then aim for something. That's kind of the secret sauce if there is any. Can we add unique coat designs like Baragos butt or prime time mask to the breed reports? That's got to be someone who knows their shit, doesn't it? Baragos butt.
Just ping Bryce and we could look at the codes like in the code are strings of like millions of ones and zeros. Like they're just totally unreadable. They're actual genetics, and so it's really hard for me to understand. Like Chris is kind of the only one that understands how that shit works. Paul a little bit, so I wouldn't be able to add that one.
How is Chris, by the way? I've not spoken. He obviously used to pop into Discord every now and then. As he
Yeah, he
stays
disconnected from
away?
Discord because yeah, it's getting a little too toxic for him. But he's doing great. Yeah, still good. Yeah.
Toxic, child's play. Um, What is the plan? What is planned for low-graded population needed for big adoption? There's two questions there. Is low-graded population needed for big adoption, and if so, what's the plan for them?
It. I don't have any plan. I'm not doing anything. Like, what are you doing for the low grade population? Obviously, the if 10,000 new users show up tomorrow off this Philippines loan program with Gig, which we've talked about, what are they going to do? They do need people. They need lower cost and lower impact horses to race. So if all of you guys loaned all of your kind of B and A minus horses, do they have enough races to enter? Is is it gonna Are they gonna get trampled by S pluses running in claimers? I'm not really sure. So it is a schedule question as much as anything with Bryce, I suppose, based on how and Paul, based on how many people start racing those. Because yeah, right now, just like most people just don't race them, right? I mean, like,
I mean, given the current dynamic, it is as
yeah, why
affordable
would you?
to join in at the purple level is lower grades. I mean, yeah, okay, demand might fix that. Maybe. I kind of get your point that the only reason you might want that is if people want to play lower stakes. Like right now, the schedule is set for purples to operate at slightly higher stakes, apart from claimers, which is open season, I guess.
Hmm. But yeah, a
I've never
claimer
quite.
that's a penny, a 3 cent penny, or whatever claimer.
Yeah, I've never quite understood the need for lower grades per se, and it almost becomes irrelevant once horses are trading for the same values or what have you.
Yeah, it's definitely squished downward. I mean, they've all just come to the same. So without like expanding the top or expanding the bottom, and lower, it's like yeah, you go to a penny, which I don't know. Maybe again, maybe a lot of people from the gig integration that would be good. But yeah.
Yeah, will liquidity and market making ever be addressed on a serious note? Vague answers are getting boring at this point. Anonymous.
Yeah, show your face. Will anonymous questions ever, will people ever show their face when they ask questions like this? No. Yeah, of course it will, but I'm gonna try and not go on a rant. Um, we have a market maker. We hired them. They are doing liquidity at a 200 grand ish level. Liquidity went from 200K to 900K or something, 250K to 900K, and every day people go, when's liquidity getting added? So it's like, well, it did. Some did. So we are working on it. The Crown Foundation is working on it. Adding another $1 million of SOL against the other side of Crown is not currently happening until we get the $1 million worth of SOL to add, or the Crown Foundation does, either way. So we have another news to happen in the next couple of weeks on listings and liquidity that should improve more things from a centralized standpoint. But yeah, I mean, right now they are being addressed on a serious note. Everything is being improved. Like, I don't, the timeline horizon of people is strange on the crypto side. Like, this sort of like the foundation has a board and they have to vote on things and they have to, these are millions of dollars you want moved around in like moments. So patience is a virtue.
But yeah, I mean, I guess this space is just faster moving than any other, right?
Yeah,
Like,
if you want a token that has crazy liquidity and movement, invest in meme coins. Like, that's, we are not a meme coin. It will never be a meme coin. And those are fun as shit. Like, I do it every day. It's super fun. Get it Vector app, use my sign up code. It's a blast. But that's not what Crown is. It never has. So like I just, that part to me is like kind of frustrating. Not kind
I'll
of,
give you that,
extremely
Ian.
frustrating. Yeah.
That's not a boring answer though. I'll give you that. If you don't like it, fuck off. I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
fuck right
I'm here
off.
for it.
I'd love to say that.
Nice to
But
see. I assume nice to see you on Madden documentary. Thoughts on Jetzone and Nixon trade for Jay Dewey because Madden rating low. Recall any trade talks about ratings, speed most important.
that's funny. Yeah. It's been 12, 13 years since I was at EA, so I have no idea if speed's the most important rating anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm still like watching the Madden documentary. If you guys haven't, I would recommend it. It's a blast to go look and see the formation of the number one sort of grit of Trip Hawkins to continue to power through that game when everyone thought it was a failure for years or everyone thought it was dead for years. Um, I thought that gave me a lot of like confidence that believe in something and it will work out. And then second, of course, if you episode 3 and 4 or whatever, the ones that I'm in a lot, you get to see a lot of cool behind the scenes things of me as a young lad, and it gave me a ton of pride. Like it was actually seeing that made me think, man, I no longer like I did accomplish some really cool shit there, and like I don't know, there's always this big chip on my shoulder, but it was like, man, it's pretty hard to beat some of that stuff that we did. So yeah,
Hopefully, I'll have that same feeling during the PFL documentary in 10 years'
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
10 years from now, yeah.
Are you? How are you doing for time? Are you
I'm
on a
okay.
hard
Yeah,
stop?
yeah. Maybe 12:30 would be good. Then. Yeah.
Okay, so let's. I tell you what. Let's try and crack through as many as we can, as quickly as we can. How long will it take to breed a horse to S plus level? Do you anticipate it getting more difficult to breed up to the next grade of each passing grade? Interesting.
Mm,
Do you
how
know?
long?
I think we're still a year. It feels like we're still. I think 12 months away from SS. Personally.
Yeah, it's well, you think a year? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously people are getting better and better at those breeding reports, and then they obviously can see what type of horses are doing wicks more than others, and all that stuff is happening.
Hmm.
But SSS plus, I mean, Jesus, that's a long time, I would imagine, because I mean, you can just see how many months has it been since Exoticus? We're still only not very many SS minuses, and so it's like, and now they all got to grow up to start going with each other to start to get the SSS, so it's going to be, yeah, 2 years, if not. And Paul's always like really excited about that notion of like once it does reach that cap, the the whole new game unlocks, which is just sort of like this, like basically what we have in real life today. There's a lot of like weird variation that's happening that is causing success, and now a progeny, a stallion's progeny is now like the thing, the one that's producing more winners than others. is like this huge, and now the demand could skyrocket because everyone gets so squished up to the top. They're all so good that now it's like, oh man, if you have a reliable stud, they are like big time compared to other. So like, that's pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, that's ace. That I like the thought of that. Just to build on that question, and this is a pet peeve or a pet peeve. Um, the SS, the purple colours on the site, and SS minus, and all variations of S. Whose idea was that? Come on, like,
That's
I
sort of
don't know
how
if
it
you've ever.
goes, dude. That's how like
I
you don't
don't-
play very many games in Japan. This is all Asian influence. That's what they do. So yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's whose
I
idea it
on a
was.
on a serious
Asia.
note, it is like it takes about 3 or 4 views of a horse to realize it's got an S plus stat. Genuinely, it's quite hard to see it. Um, and I've got good eyesight. I've got very good eyesight. I've got 25 eyesight, whatever the hell that means. Um, but genuinely,
Keep
it
beating the
hurts
drum,
that.
dude. Keep beating the drum.
I will.
Yeah,
I've got you here. Sort it out.
someday. Yeah, someday.
Devs do
Someday
something.
Brian will. Yeah, Brian will just make it brown.
Rollers in Twitter saying the colours, yes. And then Pete bragging about his eyesight again. Great eyesight. Perfect eyesight. Perfect. Great eyesight. Um, he also says, as we get to the one upvote questions, use your discretion, Pete. I'm not using any discretion. Vote for the questions.
Yeah,
The
vote him up.
power's in your hands. The original gameplay was discussed by the team 2 years back. Can we get an updated article with details about breeding racing based on the last 2 years of data?
Not quite sure what that means, but Bryce and Ryan can handle. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's a danger, I guess, of anything that comes out of the team of being too insightful. I would encourage anyone who hasn't already followed AI Paddock to follow AI Paddock on Twitter.
Hmm.
His insights are awesome. Anything that's data-driven insights is brilliant. His are fantastic.
Yep.
I would have thought that's a third party or a community responsibility rather than that.
Hmm.
With 89% of horses unprofitable, many players struggling to compete or enjoy PFL, how will you create more chances for success and improve player retention?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a hard game. We talked about that, so somewhat covered. But the way that the final form of this game comes when people are wagering on the races and the wagers are going into the purses. And if we don't have that, it will continue to be a very hard game. Rate can be reduced, bonuses can come in terms of free rolls, all the ways that people are doing it now makes it difficult. But the more and more and more that we juice the purses from external source, which we think is wagering, and always has been the case, that's where we go. So that's our hope, that's our vision. I mean, obviously, that's what we're working towards, and um, here's hoping, right? I mean, we all work towards that ourselves too. Like that's the cool part about simulcast. Like when prepared, like every one of us can actually take a part in spreading the word of that, going and getting it put on a local bar, going and getting it put on at your uh, shit, I don't know, your casino, your local, anywhere around. We can help spread the word and get more people. Again, the number one virtual racing product, no doubt about it. So,
And obviously, I remember when when the Churchill Downs partnership was signed, there was obviously some hope maybe around Twin Spires and partnerships with existing wagering providers. Is there anything in that? Is there anything like on the roadmap or desired from that point still?
yeah, so I can give a little bit of background without saying like too much, I guess. The legalities of it are challenging for a big existing company. So, adding a virtual race onto Churchill's book is kind of like impossible because of the legality, right? Until some other major lobbying change were to occur and show that a virtual sport is a real sport, right? It's treated as such, that these are real athletes rather than virtual. Um, it's a super challenging environment to do directly like that, and so that's why you can see that's why we pushed into simulcast and building our own book, working with other partners, not the giant player, because it's just like that. Of course, I'd love that to happen, and we've had the conversations and everything, but very few locations in the world um, allow that to be bet on directly through one of these their current existing licenses.
Perfect. Is Soma fucking hell? Is Soma the best LD stable, and why does it make YSM so mad? Yes, they are,
Your
and you just
thoughts?
answered your own question. Yeah, yes, and yes. Um, are there any plans to update the game visuals in some way in the future, like a replay feature to show the horses at different angles? I know we had different angles at, even in beta. There was the running angle. Is
Side,
there any
yeah.
way to, could you turn a toggle on for that maybe?
Um, not it doesn't. It's not very much work. It's just a priority thing right now. It's just sort of like not really on the top list. We need a dev to work on it. So I'd love to do it, but yeah, it is one of those things that we'll probably get to a point where we just need a refresh, like just a brand refresh. The intro videos are the same, the outro videos, everything's been identical for 2 years. It might just be good to have a new shot, have some new camera angles, have some other things, have a photo finish replay, all of those. But you can just see right now there's all these other really, really intense things that we're working on.
Let's have a little update on the
Nice.
polls. Did you like the slide? Yeah, there's a fairly high turnout for
That's good.
Slido. Excellent. Winning Gene. There's still no clear answer.
Resounding no.
Should horses die sooner? 60-40 has come in a bit. Interesting that. I actually thought it would be more in
Yep.
favour. I did think it'd be more in favour.
Yep.
No update on the word cloud. I'll maybe drop in one more poll as we go on. Will there be residual referral incentives to sign up local establishments for simulcasting, and when? Every question ends and when, doesn't
And when, yeah. Q1, Q2. No, I mean this is a key part of how I think simulcast really wins, and becomes a real threat to nearly every other industry in the sports wagering space. Is this notion that you can walk into your local bar, just tell them to install the app on Roku, sign up with your code, and then now, the bar owner and you are getting some little slice of the action that's happening. All in crypto, all trust free, transparent, all of the great things. So yes, that is the plan. That it's basically incentivized for everyone to go spread the word. Obviously, we don't want to call 1,000 bars and restaurants and casinos ourselves. If you guys can do it, then more than happy to give you a slice. And so that's the plan. But it's going to take some time to get all that set up, legal entity, etc. Um, so when, yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I said before, we'll be testing it in Q1, maybe prototype, maybe it'll have a couple spots in Q2, Q3, Q4 for more and more. Who knows? I have literally zero idea what will happen if someone tried to do this in Australia. Right? Like I haven't done any of that research, or in the UK. So that's the stuff that we got to get to once we're ready.
Yeah, no problem. 45 questions left in the queue, just like PFL. As we race our horses, the number keeps on growing. Napoleon, what about adding something fresh to support global marketing? A tab on my stables displaying trophies won. Yeah, I think that's a really good comment. A seasonal summary that can be shared on X, which technically it can be. You can just take a snip of your,
Mm,
um, of you, maybe not in terms of racing, but certainly in terms of financial benefits. Trophy cabinet,
trophy room,
Ian, is
yeah.
there anything on that? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, the trophy room and like easily sharing race results and wins has been on our list forever, top priority. But other things just keep bumping it up. Um, so yeah, obviously would love to do it. Anything that we have to balance of like new users coming in or bringing users back or keeping the users that we have, those are always what we're juggling the priorities against. Yeah, I'd love to do it. The trophy room is like we also have coming up the horses are passing away, so it's like we got the memorial type of stuff we got to do for these horses. So yeah, it's on the list, but it hasn't been priority zero. When? I don't know. PFLVR, I'm gonna go ahead and nix that. We're not gonna do that anytime soon.
Not going to do VR. Anything new on fundraising? We
Yeah,
covered it briefly
it's
before.
going good. So hopefully news soon.
New soon. There we go. We really
Yeah,
are cracking through that.
soon to you.
Nothing. Um, I'll leave you coyness on that point, but I mean, you've kind of alluded to the fact that you've got at least 2 years runway there, sat in the background. Um, what if fundraising is successful? How do you think that improves, like the game essentially, or the team, or like what do you think the top three benefits of fundraising would be?
Yeah, a little more team size for scope, right, would be number one, so that like we don't get log jammed on a feature. In this case, trophy room could continue development instead of having to put all hands on deposit match, right? Just one more dev, two more devs, or a outsourced dev team, could help do all of that a lot better. So that's one. Number two is marketing spend. So right now we're spending very small amounts on marketing, $100 a day, $500 a day. Um, Actual real dollar spends. Our previous mobile games, we would spend $1,000 to $10,000 a day based on the time of year. So you need that capital, and you gotta wait till it comes back. Like sometimes it's tough. You're like getting a 180-day payback. You need to make sure that you're spending accordingly to do so. And then yeah, the third, yeah, those are the two. I mean, obviously marketing dollars and then more dev effort, probably where it's going. Oh, licenses,
Uh,
yeah. That we kick back up the UK license with some fresh
okay.
capital.
So yeah, it's a capital issue that has put the mockers on that essentially. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm going to drop in another work line. I'm going to make it a nice controversial one.
Nice.
Who owns the best pound for pound stable in PFL?
That's great.
So we're going to ask so type in your
Pound
favorites,
for
and
pound. I like that.
we'll we'll see how that goes. Um, could a multilingual website improve user engagement in gaming by making racing terms more accessible?
So localization is just a super hard task. Often takes a lot of time, and oftentimes you don't know if it's going to pay off ROI wise. I will talk about one of the initiatives we're doing leading into the new year. Is we've found some like really inexpensive folks that are translating, creating all of our videos. Sorry, we'll talk this through. We've got years of content, right? Ryan Yusefi has written thousands of blogs. You guys have written thousands of blogs. We have hundreds of thousands of races have been run. And so we basically are hiring a kind of small, like inexpensive team that will turn all this content into daily videos released on social media. So we're getting offshore team to make these TikToks and Instagram videos. And Yusefi is managing what goes out every day, but basically repurposing all that old content into a daily video that goes out on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, build that. And then at the same time, we're hiring a Japanese translator to repost every one of those and translate them into Japanese on a Japanese Facebook, a Japanese TikTok, etc. Right? And just to see if that works or does anything. And if it does, because Japan, most everyone knows Japan's horse racing spend is like off the charts. It's insane, right? It's always been the white whale for us, and we've never cracked it, even on mobile. So we're trying this though, and if those social media channels get traction and get interest, then we would probably start looking at first step being translating PFL site to Japanese, but if and only if they have traction, because it's expensive and time consuming to localize a site like that.
That's interesting. Cheers for that one. We're going to go about 15 minutes more, Ian. Is that okay?
Yep, that works.
Ace. 15 minutes more. I would probably suggest that you don't add any more questions into the list, but if you want to see a question answered, get voting.
Yeah, get to vote.
And it'll make its way up the list, and we'll do it that way. I think we probably will struggle unless you get a cabal of people, let's say, to vote for your question. I think you'll struggle to get it on top at this point if it's a new question. Will the team slash you consider a Rainmaker style burn for credit, race, wager, breed mechanism? Hardcore races aren't it, and the pot sponsorships won't last forever.
Yeah, somewhat. It's sort of weird to think about that um, as a fiction. It's like what is the real life equivalent of that? That's sort of the weird. But yes, we have thought about it, and I'm not opposed to it. Of just like, what, I want to dust these, and just get them out of here, and I want something back in return. In essence, selling them to us, type of a thing. So yeah, we would consider it, and we've talked about it before. If you guys remember, my original pitch was always when you breed a horse, there's an upfront cost of stabling it, and every month we're pulling money out of that escrow. So it would sort of behoove you to be like, if you've got a loser, like, all right, just forget it, get rid of it, give me my escrow back, which would sort of allow a lot less horses to be sort of languishing, down at the bottom. But anyway, we just haven't got to it.
And is that escrow dynamic still potentially on the cards, Ian, or is that
I think so. I
definitely
love
gone?
it. It's just like, especially when it was always like we talked about it, and then it'd be like, well, we don't need to worry about that now. Wait till the horse growth is exponential, and then now it's like, well, growth's exponential. So now what do we do? We need to kind of maybe prioritize that up. Um, I'm not working on it right today, but I would love to. I think it's good. I think it's a great way to sort of curb some of the things without it being like an artificial force. It's actually kind of real. Um, that's obviously what happens in real life. If you're having this weekly or this monthly, bill is why most everyone isn't owning horses.
And just before I clear off that question, how are you feeling about hardcore races? Have you been surprised at the uptake? Are you, what's kind of your view on them?
I don't know. That was one of mine. I still was always kind of a doubter. Um, but like I love a good degen thing. So I guess I have been surprised that they, continue to still get horses shoveled into that furnace. But it's a neat idea. I don't know. It's just like it wasn't really ever my favorite, but it was something a lot of people asked for, so we wanted. I'm fine to try it.
Yeah, I race them. Cheers for that question, Doughboy. Cheers for putting your name up. Stens has come up with a question. Can you speak to the support you have from Solana, Helios, etc., token airdrop simulcast, them taking it seriously is as bullish as anything?
Yeah. So Solana has really been leaning a lot more into us and with us lately. Starting with Breakpoint and Solana Seeker and Mobile. So the Solana team has been great. I had calls with Toli himself and Raj and Colleen just last week. So we're trying to get closer and closer there. Helios is always great. Mert and I chat all the time on Telegram, and they continue to help. Like we had some major expenses happening on some of our Solana stuff, but you can see hopefully now we've gotten really, really, really reliable on a lot of our uh, token transfers in and out, and I think we have some of the best in class stuff there that working with Elias has done good. And then lately, Metaplex, who I used to have a lot of problems with, but now we've got this great uh, interaction with them, and so they've been working really, really closely with us on prepping for simulcast. So simulcast works with Metaplex Core, and our own smart contract. And so we've been working with them super closely. They've been amazing. Like sat down and hour-long Zoom calls and debug certain stuff like with on-chain programs. And then they have a new network called Aura. If you haven't looked it up, check it out. Which is going to be some really like lightning fast RPC type stuff, really fast queries of the chain and the assets. And so we're working closely with them on that. So yeah, I mean, I love leaning into the ecosystem. A lot of times, of course, people know I get kind of like jaded at some of the folks that are drifters in the ecosystem, but I've really gravitated towards, Helios, Solana, Metaplex now, and really getting tighter relationships there.
I don't think we've had critical mass on this poll for who owns the best pound for pound stable. Stens. Pound for pound. I mean, there's a lot of pounds in that stable, isn't there?
Oh man, you're going at them, aren't you?
No, I love Stens. We go way back. Started from 2B and 2A. Surely that's Tuckbury. That's funny. Started from 2B plus and 2A. Let's go on to the next one. Any thoughts on changing the way the Lineage Cup breeding fee works? 24K doesn't seem realistic right now. So this is super interesting because the Lineage Cup hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Like I think next season or the season after is the first time that is going to be a thing. Do you think the guardrails on that are correct right now?
I don't know enough to say for sure. I trust Bryce and Paul to do all those analytics and metrics, So in terms of any thoughts on changing it, no, not me personally, but if you guys feel strongly and reach out to Bryce and discuss in Discord, I'm sure we could talk about it. But yeah, I'm not knowledgeable enough on that one.
Roller's in the chat saying YSM is nowhere to be seen in the word cloud. They are now, or they should be. Oh no, I just submitted it and they're not even showed up when I've submitted it. Isn't that typical? There's a block on YSM in that question, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we add a favorite option for horses in the stable to keep them on top? Quite a simple
God,
fix, but
yeah.
quite an interesting one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tagging, all of that stuff has actually been worked on to some amount. I think it's in like a branch somewhere, again, log jammed. But that sort of notion of, organizing your stable by certain types and being able to filter by it is, yeah, on the list and won't be too long, I'm assuming.
Do you know, I typed in YSM, you pricks, and I think it's filtered out because I swore. Isn't that typical? That was something that could identify your best horses quickly. Would be super. It would
Yeah,
be super beneficial. That's a
yeah.
good question.
Mm.
Um, will it ever get cheaper to? Good question. This will it ever get cheaper to breed low grade horses? I want to focus on A and A plus, but current breeding cost doesn't make it worth it.
Uh, no plans now, but yeah, I don't know. Market forces are maybe will. Yeah, I don't know. No,
Is
no
that
plans now.
it? Will that always? I mean, that's pretty consistently been your response to that. Is that do you think that will ever change? Like you basically said, water will find its level. We've given a minimum breed, and like we'll let
Yeah,
anything come behind that.
right. At
It,
some
it,
level, it's like you just won't do it if it's not worth it, and then therefore it's like I don't know, putting it down into $1 pushes the floor even further, rather than kind of like make people be a little more selective. I'm just not sure. So yeah, no plan to change it.
have you got the most out of the Churchill partnership?
That's a great question. No, but I did put a thread together on Twitter, and we could repost it as well. Sort of like, we're all learning and we're trying things. So at the top level, they've been the best, real partner in terms of sports that I've ever worked with, and I've worked with almost all of them. They are by head and shoulders above, the NFL, the MLB, the MMA, UFC. It's like they are so great. The Masters, PGA, they're all super difficult typically, not Churchill, but we're all trying to figure out what's the best way to use it, and we're trying to get more users to them. They're trying to get more users to us. So I wish that they were posting every day about us, but we have to push content to them, and a lot of times they're nervous about certain things, like which is fine. It's like, and they have like, so we just keep experimenting and keep trying. I think there's certain things that have been great. Obviously, I think the meetup with everyone at the Derby was just like kind of a life memory, a core memory for the people that did it. That is undefeated. I mean, it's just nothing like that to say that even if all of that was a deal, but um, we've gotten pretty good success on using their email type campaigns. Being able to have articles that we publish on their site that then they blast to their users. That's been one of the most reliable, sort of good. Like if we've posted things on their TikTok, their Instagram, those types of things, and they just don't really convert. The majority of people, kind of realize that I didn't realize either. The majority of people that are following the Kentucky Derby and that are into their socials are not serious horse players. They're lifestyle. I mean, they are a lifestyle
Mm.
brand. And so it's a little bit about like, okay, well, how do we lean into that? What do we experiment around that? I thought one of the best ones, that article of like you guys winning the virtual and going, that article like did really well, brought new users to the site, and they want more of that. Like, what's the story, the personal aspect of what does this game do? So we're always messing around. We've got a new thing we're working with them on right now. We're obviously trying to get plans together for next Derby too. So it's like, yeah, have we gotten the most out of it? No, but like, did we get the most out of the NFL? No, like on Madden, there's just it's always you just keep trying, and some things work, some things don't.
What you're saying is everyone's here to see Peep. Eh? Peep
Yeah, yeah,
sells.
your face, it peep sells. Yeah.
um, is it? Look, I mean, this one's close to my heart, really. Like we operate here in the game. We play every season to try and win that one race, essentially. We genuinely do. Like it was a huge achievement. We felt it. Like, and then to do back to back and all that was amazing. Um, for me, I mean, what I would love to see is a couple of things here. One, I'd love to see the production around the monthly Virtual Kentucky Derby just elevated to a level. Like, I think that could be a massive selling point. Like if you can get that nailed on, and like it's not even reinventing the wheel on this. Like just go and watch NBC and then try and mimic it. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know there's
Well,
production. I
Yeah,
know
they
the
spend
production
months on that
costs.
production. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
okay, fine.
No, I hear you
But
though.
I'm just,
I agree.
yeah,
It's just like finding a way and the time and the expense to pull that off every month is just when we spent a decent amount of money and time up front and we still get the same sort of 50, 60 viewers, so it's sort of like, okay, we
yeah,
gotta we gotta think through a different way to run that broadcast while still doing all the production style. But like if we played interviews and video and did an exact NBC 4 hour broadcast, I think it'd still be 60 people. So we have to think through a little bit more of like, well, what does it mean to have this stream? Like, who watches these things? A lot of times, people watch gambling on Twitch or not on Twitch anymore, but on Kick a lot. And so it's sort of like, okay, let's find this new way to present this that does appeal to the DGen or the Web3 community, period. Not just like I mean, another example, the NBC broadcast, like most people don't even watch it. They're just at a party and it's on. We ran a TV commercial one year and it got like 0 views. Like no one even saw it. And it's like that's the memory that like people are just having a party on Derby Day. They're not like sitting there glued to the TV, like watching, any of the stories for the most part.
yeah, no, got that. I mean, the next thing I would probably focus on with Churchill or the Virtual Kentucky Derby is maybe centering a wagering event around it. Like, I think that if you can condense wagering activity into that one race, that
Yeah.
one day, and create a bit of like lore, a bit of understanding about the horses, I think that could work. I do think that you could get a benefit from that. I don't know if you've considered that before.
I mean, I think if there's anything we learned, it's like um, the lore is amazing for our current community and sort of
Yeah,
pointless for a random person. They'd rather bet on a hamster, um, at some level in the Web3. But like, yeah, that's what we're building for, of course, with simulcast is to try and like have this sort of constant, nice broadcast stream going and leaning into that. So yeah, I mean, there's just so much we can try with them. Betting is an angle we typically can't really do much of. That's why it's called picks. That's why these things is like you're
yeah.
trying to kind of like steer clear of getting any problems with them and just keeping a partnership great with them. And so yeah, I don't know. There's so many things. Like I would love to be on site streaming the virtual derby from Churchill every month. It's just like, and they were like, yeah, you want to do that? Come on up. I'm like, well, shit, how am I going to do that? I don't like I can't do that. I can't fly to Louisville every month and to an empty stadium or whatever, and no one's there. So yeah, there's just some things we could try, but that's an example one that we like have wanted to do. Like let's stream it on the big board
Mm.
from Churchill, and they're like, yeah, sounds cool. So then it's like, okay, well now we got to figure out how do we do this where it's not 40 people watching. Like like that would be a huge expense for no one. We have to figure out
Yeah, I
how to get
get that.
people
I
in there.
get that.
Yeah. It's like, do we get
And
a guest? Like that, there's things like that. They're like, yeah, all
mm,
right, Snoop is going to co-host it, or whatever. Then maybe I don't know. Like, there's just things like that that might drive viewership, right? So anyway,
should we do a quick power couple of minutes and crack through as many questions as we can, and then call it a day?
yeah, I'll try and go faster because yeah, I probably do have to bolt. But yeah, this one,
Yeah,
yes,
duck
we have
races.
talked about this. We want to do this. To be honest, it's just the time. We on Friday we had a photo finish race of our own teams, and the winner got a PlayStation, and it was insanely painful. I was like, man, I wish we could just do this in one click. We all had to set up new accounts and create a new trainer and do all these other things. It was just like, oh my God, awful. So yeah, I would love to do that. But yeah. All right, so this one,
I
post-discovery paid entry
just a
racing.
quick,
Yeah, that.
if you
Yeah.
don't mind, just a quick follow up on that, because obviously an answer to a lot of this is if we had a load of time, or if we had more time, if we had more people, etc. How do you prioritize things? How do you like? How do you have you got like a stack? Do you know like what's next? What's next? Is that where
Yeah.
you are?
Yeah. I mean, I've got like a big backlog of tasks, and then of course a lot of it's just in my personal notes. I have a constant notes list that I'm moving stuff up or down or bottom, and then we meet every day, and I assign tasks to people based on what I'm gonna be working on, right? So yeah, it's that's part of it. I'm the CEO and the project manager, I guess.
Nice. Back to the quick questions. Post discovery paid entry racing meta is failing to keep existing players racing. Will you consider pre discovery paid entry meta?
I guess I disagree with the statement on the first section, so no.
Yeah. Do you think you prematurely launched the game without having all of this already in place, or were you testing if the game was worth pursuing?
Um, no, I don't think we launched prematurely. Um, the I think that's the problem with a lot of games nowadays. You wait forever. You have to know if you have a fit. And I'd much rather operate on a game in production than thrash around and without any users. So yeah, I mean, you have to get, in my opinion, you should get your game to launch immediately, as soon as possible, and then build it alongside your users. Some people don't agree with that. They put a game in development for 7 years and just hope that it lands on day one. Like you can look at a lot of recent, like Concord on PlayStation. That's an example of what not to do, in my opinion.
And I mean, on that note, we've seen a key competitor of yours then completely throw the baby out with the bathwater and go for a ZX. Would you ever think of a PFLX? Is that off the table?
No, I don't even know what that would. What does that mean? No. Uh,
I mean, would you take everything you've learned? Because obviously, I mean, like it's a game that you've learned a lot along the way. Maybe you do things differently if you had your time again. Would you have your time again? Would you ever consider anything like that, or is that just a red line for you?
no, no. I mean, it already cycles itself. The population always cycles itself. So, like, if we wanted to make some major change, we could always say, "Hey, season 30 onward, this is the new style. Seasons last a week, or whatever." You could change anything if you wanted, and everyone would deal with it or not. But it already has enough of a cycle and the seasons that you could change it if you need. So, no, if I'm doing a new game or new like reshot at it, I would do it on a different game.
Should we say three more questions? If
Yep.
anyone wants their questions asked, then get voting very, very quickly. What's the correlation between live metrics going on chain and simulcast Roku? I mean, technically, thanks.
So Derby, as everyone knows, is the main currency of Photo Finish Live, right? All of that is off-chain. That is a off-chain currency. It's in our database. It's a virtual currency. So now the new paradigm, hopefully being Derby, is an on-chain currency. And it doesn't mean you have to have a wallet. We'll still do all the movement of the funds around between users and their custodial accounts, like just like we do now, but it will be an on-chain number. So you would see your wallet balance on-chain. You would see the movement of going into a race, getting paid back out, going to the marketplace, getting paid back out. All of that would be happening on the chain. And once that happens, then now race pools externally by other people can be in Derby as well. And so now when you place a bet on a simulcast race, out in another location altogether, that pool and the USDC version of it, this Derby, can now be moving in and out of users that are playing the game. So that's why. That's why they're linked.
It's for horse age and life expectancy, would it be a good idea to have plus 10 years of life after retirement, the strategy that keeps races on the track, which is the goal?
Yeah, you guys could debate. If you prop that as a question, you'll probably get 60-40. Um, so yeah, I'm not like rushing to change it.
And what would drive you to consider, like, are you doing modeling? Are you doing, like, are you messing around with these things to, like, with the variables to see what might happen? Or, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
What's your thought process around this? Like, is it when the noise gets too much or too little? Or what catalyst would it be for a change like that?
yeah. It's not the noise because I mean there's infinite noise. Um, I think it's really, yeah, it would be around metrics showing some major problem that have to be immediately addressed. And now I would go with the what if there was a cost of maintaining the horse life, like the thing we just talked about, the escrow. Like, would that actually solve it better than dying sooner? You just like that would be the thing that I would spend some time to go through and walk through. I don't know. I just obviously I know people are frustrated by it, but it's a lot of things, and so it's like rushing into it, especially when we haven't gotten the new users in. It's like if I have 10,000 new players, like then I'll readjust. It's sort of like okay, now let's see what's actually happening supply and demand wise. and then go from there.
Yeah, fair. Will owning 20 PFPs ever not give 100 breed reports, and will it ever give access to free/discounted PFL Pro?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. I haven't thought about changing anything there. So, all right, we're about
We'll end on
yeah
this. Yeah,
yeah there
we'll
we go.
end on this one. This is a bullish question to end on, isn't it? Are you planning, hoping for a future with a 100,000 US dollar or higher entry purse?
I would absolutely love that. And yes, so let's think about it too. How much money would have to be wagered on a race at a 15% average rake on a wager pool to supply 100K into the purse?
And are you testing my mental maths now, are you? 15% rake, 100k. What you probably need that to be 800k ish, 700k ish of betting, wagering
Yep.
spend. Is that right?
Yeah, 700K. Right. So does anyone realistically think we can't have $700,000 wagered on a virtual Kentucky Derby?
On a virtual Kentucky Derby. That's exactly my point.
I don't see any reason why that would not be the case. That is not what was wagered this year's Derby, the real one. I think $440 million. So
Most of that was at the PFL table, actually. I think.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm.
440 million to 700K. So yeah, that's the reasons to be bullish on this. Again, you just got to step back and remember, we've got the number one virtual racing product in the world, and haven't grown it at all yet. I think it's time. It's like I'm ready. My body is ready. So next year's going to be super exciting.
That feels like a good place to end it on. We'll just quickly scroll through the polls and see if there's anything. Absolute Horsepower is the absolute
Dominant.
winner of the best pound for pound stable. Everyone likes Slido, excellent.
Yeah,
Winning Gene, no change. Should horses die sooner, 60-40.
no,
And no change to that one. Ian, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time on Festivus and around Christmas.
yep,
Really
yep.
appreciate it. I hope you and your family have a great festive period.
Same man.
And everyone watching, yeah, I hope everyone watching has a safe and happy festive period. And yeah, let's roll on 2025 of the year of PFL, another year
Let's
of
do it.
PFL.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all soon. See you